about yourself, and then we'll just see what happens.
Me and the company, or which one?
Yes.
Well, Cristal Craven, Director of Strategic Partnerships at SynergySuite. We are a back office platform, so we do, as a matter of fact, excited to partner with TimeForge soon. We do labor management, inventory purchasing, operational workflow management, HACCP, and also analytics and BI. So basically everything that revolves around running the business once you walk through those back doors of the office. And I've been with them for 3 years. I've been in hospitality tech for 18. Worked my way through college and restaurants, worked in restaurants, had kids, realized I couldn't open stores till 2 in the morning. So got a job working for Aloha, selling it. And I thought, oh, I can sell this. It's so easy. I use it. Realized I knew nothing about networking or cables or operating systems. And 18 years later, I just wouldn't do anything else. Also the co-founder of Worth, which is Women of Restaurants, Technology, and Hospitality.
I saw some pins. I love
That's our pledge. That's our ally pledge. And you see someone wearing a pin at a trade show, you know that they are a safe harbor and a safe place to go to if you feel like you're uncomfortable or there's inappropriate behavior. So, doing a lot for the industry with SynergySuite in terms of back office and some of our great new partners, but I think also hopefully helping to elevate women in the industry as well.
I love that.
I do too. I
don't know a single woman in this industry who doesn't have a story.
I don't know. So we actually at the Women in Leadership Conference last year started our panel by asking everyone to stand up and then said, sit down if this has never happened to you. And I mean, it was kind of clickbait, right? Because nobody sat down. We knew the answer was everyone. But luckily there's some good ones. And then, I think my colleagues, your colleagues are some of the good ones as well. And
absolutely.
I know that Anthony's got a pin, so he's representing.
Very good. Yeah. I saw Eric running around with one.
Of course. I love that. I love that too.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. It sounds like your heart's in it.
Very much.
And that's one of the things I love about this space, restaurants in general, but restaurant technology, even more niche-y, is hospitality is at the basis of everything we do. And we have so many solution providers who have a background in store. We started out in the space of providing hospitality and food through love through food, and then we get onto the vendor side and we're talking to these brands and we're going, no, I'm one of you, right? And so I think it's really interesting at FSTEC this year, I have seen and felt that connection with the brands and restaurants that are here, feeling accepted, like we're in a space together, instead of the I'm a restaurant, you're a vendor relationship that I think kind of happened during the pandemic.
Well, what I think happened during the pandemic is people's tolerance for bullshit went very low.
Oh, for sure.
So you typically did have a lot of vendors in the space who I would actually say forgot that they came from hospitality, right? And that was a really big thing, is they were selling technology, but they forgot their roots. And I think that during the pandemic, we were suffering so much as an industry and we were hurting so much that really the ones who actually were willing to put in the time and care and maybe help make some concessions, as vendors for the operators, help be a little bit more empathetic, right? Come up with the type of technology that was going to be really useful to them. Those are the ones that sort of rose to the top. And so when you look at like 2-3 years past the pandemic and FSTEC, the ones who are still here, who are still successful, not simply because, of course, you have to buy this, you've had it forever, but the ones who are really coming through, I think, are the ones who responded during that time and remembered their core roots. You're being hospitable as a brand, taking care of your guests, but we have to have that same type of behavior to you as your vendor. We have to also behave like you're our guests, right? You're not our cash cow, you're our guest.
Yes.
And you're right, I do see that now. The relationship between brands and vendors is strong because we've been through that together. But not every vendor is still here.
That's very true.
Not every vendor is still here. And I think what you're saying is that essence of hospitality, it carried us through that time, but it's actually what's continuing to carry us through. And the ones who aren't in that sort of world aren't going to make it, brand or vendor, right? That's just not what our industry is about. So I agree, and I'd love it so much. Yeah.
No, it's been, so I've witnessed a few recurring themes at FSTEC this year, right?
Yep.
I think everyone is saying AI.
Yeah. What's that? I don't know.
Over and over. I won't ask about AI. But I am also seeing a lot more restaurants and brands and operators who are here who are going, hey, we adopted technology as hard and fast as we could for 4 years.
Yeah.
I wrapped up those projects. I assessed what was working, what wasn't working, shut down implementations that were taking 18 months that never actually got up.
Sure. Yeah, very much.
It's a recurring theme. Speaking of those vendors who do.
Yeah.
So a lot of the IT groups that I'm talking to that are here running around, they're going, I'm wrapping up 6 months more worth of projects, but then I want to see what I can solve to move it forward instead of playing catch up. Is that what you're seeing too?
Actually, very much so. And I think people are planning strategically much further into the future, but looking now, and that's fine, right? I mean, as a vendor, it's not about your timeline, it's about theirs. So you have a conversation, you know that eventually it's going to be 18-month cycle, that's fine, 24-month cycle, but you're right, I think that's it. But what I do see, to your point, about a lot of those projects being wrapped up, I've seen like a really large proliferation, and I think it's very, very healthy, of vendors here who aren't actually selling a product, but they're selling a service. And a lot of time that service is resource management. So those 18-month projects, it's not just the vendors who maybe weren't doing the right thing or the development wasn't moving fast enough. A lot of it was absolutely the resources at the corporate level just being stretched so thin and having to make those cuts during the pandemic. The teams just aren't there. So what I think is really different, I've seen this year, and they're doing a great job. There's a lot of people who are helping with menu management, ERP conversion, hardware management, help desk management. There are more service-based providers than ever in our space. And I think knowing that those resources are there actually gives the brands a little breathing room to say, we can pull in an external resource to help us finish this project. And then we can start looking for what's next. Because we're not buried, because there are companies that are out there to help us without having to bring on full-time employees or full-time resources to manage that project. So that is something I've seen a lot this year, more than other years, and I love that for them, because it's helped us as a vendor help the brands get to completion faster, helps the brands be able to resource manage while still taking care of their everyday duties. And I think it's a great space to inhabit, and I see people populating. I think it's really cool.
That's a really good point, because a lot of those timelines were stretched out on implementations and stuff just because everyone was so stretched thin.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great point. It always makes me think of the book Multipliers.
Okay.
Right? But with vendors,
I haven't read it, but go. I
okay,
no,
yeah.
but tell me.
Well, right. So the premise is like, hey, leaders in your organization, right? You're looking for these multipliers, right? They're not just one employee. This person is multiplying your culture. They're multiplying their productivity, right?
Okay.
Throughout the organization. And so finding the right vendor partner among restaurants, like that's what I'm seeing, because that was something I was just talking about with Michael Beck was, hey, this whole industry operates based on phone a friend, right?
Absolutely.
And so
100%.
when you have the right vendor partner, you can be like, hey, Cristal, I'm struggling with this thing that's not in your wheelhouse.
Yep.
And we're just talking because we have a relationship, because that's how restaurant technology works,
Yep.
right?
I trust you.
Yeah.
I value you.
And you talk to this guy. I know 5 guys who are doing something really cutting edge with that, or this is what the go-to is. And I'm seeing that so much more right now with that collaborative conversation, even during the build versus buy session.
Which I loved. Yep.
It was amazing. But yeah, it was that collaborative conversation of, hey, yeah, maybe I do need to build my own. Maybe I do need to partner with someone. What do you think is next, right? We've talked about what products really are. What do you think's next for the industry?
I mean, God, I hate to be the 15th person to say this on your videos today, but AI. Right. I mean, I do, as much as we want to have all sorts of opinions on it and be like really persnickety and say, oh, well, it's not really AI, it's machine learning. And oh, we've had algorithms forever. The truth of the matter is like, why are we not using technology, true technology, to move our industry forward in that way? It's so useful if it's done right. And I do understand that there's this proliferation of so many different companies right now who are touting that we do AI. They're not all great, but truly being able to pull in so much information, so much logic and decision making in such a small amount of time, our business moves too fast to sit down, because by the time you've done the research and made the decision, it's not the right decision anymore. Right now it's something new, especially with things like forecasting. That is such a big deal. And there is no way that a restaurant manager, for example, and this is something we're excited to partner with you on, a restaurant manager cannot read the newspaper to see what games are on that weekend. They cannot go through, Facebook. They can't subscribe to 15 different groups, but that's going to impact their business. So utilizing an AI tool to help them make those decisions in like genuine real-time decision making is going to be really important. Now, I do think that even though that's what's next, not everyone's going to make it, right? Not every company that's promoting an AI-based product is going to make it because maybe it's not the right product. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's not the right use case. Maybe they're not the right partner. But I feel like we are going to do such a good job being so precise in the next couple of years because of the technology at hand. And I'm very excited about that. We're doing some things internally as well at SynergySuite with suggested ordering, right? It doesn't matter how from the gut like I know I'm going to sell this many hamburgers tomorrow, but wouldn't it be nice to have better information at your fingertips to make that decision before you order that case? So I genuinely think that's what's coming next. I'm super curious. Did most people say that?
To varying degrees.
Okay.
Most people have had a running theme in that question.
Okay.
It's gonna have to do with AI, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, so I'm not alone.
I think most people, once I dive further into this, tell me if you differ.
Okay.
They feel like the AI is going to get more and more specific and more solution-based, right? Right now, AI is very like, AI!
Sure.
Right? Kind of like the cloud.
Yeah.
It's a generic term, and no one actually seems to know what it means, and they're misusing it left and right. And what a lot of folks are saying is, hey, suddenly, after a little bit more time, people are going to go, hey, I have this problem. Can AI solve that for me? Instead of, hey, AI, I need AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And I think that the language will change as well. I do agree with you. Right now, AI is such a blanket term, and I don't know because it hasn't been invented yet, and I am certainly not at the pay grade where I will be the one inventing it, but I don't think AI is going to be the word forever. I think there's going to be multiple subsets of what we consider to be artificial intelligence or machine learning or whatever the evolution of the language is around it will become more specific as well. Right. And so I'm excited think of the words that we never had 10 years ago that didn't exist in our, in our nomenclature. So AI is going to become many things and many words that we don't even know about yet. And I would really like to see, if we have this video a few years from now, what those words are and go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, I do think it's going to get differentiated and more subsets of it. But I also think those subsets are going to have their own language and words. And I'm excited to see what those are.
Love that. No, I didn't even think about that. But it has to.
Yeah.
It has to. There's no other path for it to be successful.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were a restaurant,
okay,
going to FSTEC for, let's say, the first time, maybe next year's FSTEC.
Okay.
What would you need to do to make sure it was successful?
If I was a restaurant brand going to FSTEC, this is not a made up statistic, but I cannot quote it directly on who made it up. But from my understanding is, I think it's 75% of a business decision has been made before you even interact with the vendor, right? So continue to do that. I would do my research, right? Who am I looking for? Everything's published. You know who the vendors are. They're all emailing you. We do it. It's what we do. It's how we run business. But I would do my research. I would have a plan, and I would have a really specific set of questions, just like anything going into the show. And I would also prepare to be very honest with vendors about where I am at in the stage and what I actually need. So just like everything in life, in order to be successful, you have to do your research and come prepared. I would also probably do like a juice cleanse for 2 or 3 days beforehand, because if that was really my first time at FSTEC, I probably would not be prepared for what it's going to do to my sleeping and eating and drinking habits. So if I were to give anyone advice for their first restaurant show, is we are feeders of people. We give people food and beverages for a living, or we support people that do. Be prepared. Yeah. Bring a lot of aspirin. You did a great job of preparing us, because I see at your booth you have aspirin and liquid IV. Probably a little more practical than what you're looking for, but I'm a practical person, so that's my answer.
Back to SynergySuite and what you do on your day-to-day. What typically is like the problem that a brand comes to you to solve? And then once you're partnered with them, what is the problem you end up solving they didn't account for?
Oh, those are good questions. The problem they're usually trying to solve is, quite frankly, they are unhappy with their current provider. And the reason I say that is because inventory systems are incredibly complex. They take a lot of time and resources and multiple stakeholders in order to implement. So if it works, you're probably going to keep it. you have to really be unhappy with the product that you're using, possibly from a functionality standpoint, but typically that functionality problem is because your provider is not prioritizing the work that needs to be done. You're not getting taken care of, you're not being supported enough. I think that is what people are trying to solve for, is we need help running, adopting, and retaining a very complex product that does a lot of really intricate work in a way that just makes sense for my GMs. Help us with that. And I think that we do a really good job. That's our approach. Is not just we have a great platform, but our people are very, very good. We just won Best Customer Service at the BRICS Holdings Conference. And for us, that means everything, because that is a problem. We're not being taken care of. This is such a burden of a product, like any product that does inventory. We're not alone in that. To help us help you. So that's usually where they approach us. And I would say the problem that we end up solving that they didn't know they had, which is such an interesting question. I wonder what other people said in that particular case, is they often don't recognize in their stores how bad their recipe management is. We map in the most granular way, and you'd be amazed at how many large enterprise brands or mid-service brands haven't really worked to keep their recipes up to date. They don't have it. So a lot of times we'll start a project with them. They think they're ready to go. We say, hey, are your recipes good? Oh yeah, we're going on our recipes. And as we start to unearth where we're really at, they realize that that's not the case. So sometimes that means, redesigning the recipe, or like having a different, representation of the recipe that we can ingest. But sometimes it means things like maybe we have to go back to the drawing board on how we have that recipe, in the point of sale, right? How that translates, how our modifier structure is. Are we going to have to change this? A lot of times people love the ability to be able to have the cashiers move quickly through the point of sale, but that's not always going to capture everything you need from an ingredient perspective. So I think that we try and ask, are you good to go on that? And often what we find out is there's still a lot of work to be done. Maybe going back to the point of sale, doing some menu redesign, maybe asking us to do a little bit different way of pulling recipes or pulling the ingredient at that level. That happens, I would say, 99% of the time. And that's okay. That's why we set the expectation that it's going to take a while.
Yeah. What else should people know about your work and SynergySuite?
About my work in terms of...
About your day-to-day, if they want to get in contact with
Sure.
you.
So my position at SynergySuite is I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships. And I think, and this is not just an ego thing, I think that's a really important position, because there are no silos in your there's no silos in your tech stack. You're going to have at least 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, if not more, vendors that need to work together. And I think what we do very well, and across all of my team, right? So I kind of manage the relationship with our integration partners, but our customer success managers work with them on a day-to-day basis. Our implementation managers work with them on a day-to-day basis. And I think what's really, really important about what we do is that we do not make our technologies working together a problem for our customers. Our customers should be able to say, I want to use these products together. You tell me that you integrate, but now it's just one big bus chucking contest, and we're not solving problems together, and you're making it my problem. And so what I think we do so well, that I'm really proud of as a partnership team, but as a company in general, is we work with our vendor partners to solve problems for our customers rather than making our problems their problems.
That's excellent.
And I think that is what I want you to know, because I think that's one of the things we're most proud of.
That's very well said, walking through that.
Thanks.
I think that's a challenge that a lot of restaurants are really frustrated about right
yes.
now.
You're like, you said you integrated. Why? And why do I have to be on every call? Like, why can't you just tell me what you figured out? Yeah.
What parts work? What parts don't? What parts do I want?
Sure. Who's going to solve it? Yeah. I think that's my answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So if someone wanted to partner with SynergySuite, if they wanted to look into what SynergySuite could do for their brand, how should they get in contact?
Well, I'm always a good person for partners. Cristal Craven, very easy, crystal.craven@synergysuite.com from a partnership perspective, strategic or integration partners. And then, what people normally do is you go onto the website, you can always say, contact us. You can reach out to us. I mean, we are so available. If a vendor wasn't available, you're not doing your job, right? Brett.berger@synergysuite.com is our EVP of sales. He personally welcomes every potential prospect in so that we can have our team work with them. We are not hard to find.
Excellent.
I promise you that.
All right, then I'll be sure and put some links in the bottom of the video. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yay, that was great. Is it going to be weird if I hug you?
No.